Welcome, curious learners, to the deep dive. Today we're embarking on a crucial, albeit pretty chilling, journey into the Soviet interrogation system. We're pulling profound insights directly from the Gulag Archipelago.
Yeah, our focus today is really on understanding how this system operated, not just, isolated incidents, but as a chronic, deeply ingrained practice. It fundamentally redefined what justice even meant in that society.
Right. Our mission really is to uncover the stark methods they use, the twisted logic behind it all, and the just devastating impact on millions of lives. You might think you know this period, but what we've unpacked from these sources, well, it'll likely offer some new perspectives.
Perspectives on human endurance, for sure, but also the nature of systemic cruelty. It's pretty heavy stuff.
Okay, let's dive right into the core of it then. The sources paint this picture of barbarism that honestly it would have been unimaginable just a few decades earlier. We're not talking about like the 17th century under Tsar Alexei Mikhailovich or even Peter the Great's time.
No, not at all. This is the 20th century. We're talking airplanes, radio, talking films.
Exactly. And yet the methods included skulls squeezed in iron rings, acid baths, trussing people naked for ants and bed bugs.
Heated ramrods, slowly crushing genitals.
Week-long sleep deprivation. I mean, the sheer brutality is just astounding for that era.
And what's truly striking here, I think, is the scale and the systematic nature of it. This wasn't, a few rogue individuals doing terrible things.
Yeah.
We're talking tens of thousands of specially trained personnel.
Yeah.
Tens of thousands. Overseeing the torment of millions.
Millions. So that really begs the question, doesn't it? Was this just Stalin's cult of personality, or was something more deeply embedded right from the start?
Well, that's what the sources suggest. They make it really clear this wasn't some sudden explosion of activity just in 1937, the Great Purge time.
Right. That's often the focus, but this was earlier, too.
Oh, yeah. Fabricated charges, torture.
Yeah.
They were normalized right from the early years of the security organs. It was how they justified their own existence, basically. We see examples way back in 1918, this terrible plot. 10 people supposedly wanting to drag cannons onto an orphanage roof to shell the Kremlin.
Which sounds completely absurd.
Total fantasy.
Yeah.
But people believed it or were made to believe it. And even in 1921, you had these fabricated cases against local intellectuals. The system needed enemies to function.
So it wasn't about finding truth then?
Almost never. That's a critical insight here. Interrogations were almost never about eliciting truth, the sources put it bluntly, simply an exercise in an inevitably filthy procedure.
Wow. A filthy procedure.
Yeah. Somewhat free, maybe proud, totally unprepared, just push through what's described as a narrow pipe until they do anything just to get out the other side.
So what did that mean for, the idea of guilt, justice?
Well, from the very beginning, guilt was quite elastic, as the source says. Instructions from as early as 1920 told interrogators, don't look for evidence in the way we think of it. Ask, what is his class? What is his origin? Education? Upbringing? Those were the deciding factors, not, actual action.
Exactly. Those questions predetermined your fate.
And the confession itself became paramount.
Absolutely. The personal confession was the chief proof of guilt, which is a complete inversion of legal principles we take for granted, like, say, the Fifth Amendment in the U.S.
Right, protection against self-incrimination.
Gone. It's more like medieval practices, the rack, the wheel. But with this horrifying 20th century twist, they used advanced medical knowledge to maximize torture without leaving obvious marks. The goal was breaking the will.
Breaking the will, not necessarily the body visibly.
Precisely.
And then there's the intellectual justification.
Yeah.
Andrei Vyshinsky. Vyshinsky, the chief prosecutor. His argument was, chillingly elegant in a perverse way. He basically said, since absolute truth can't be known by mortals, the truth found in interrogation and trial is only relative.
Relative truth.
Yes. So judges could sentence people to death, feeling confident only approximately that they were guilty. It's a terrifyingly neat way to justify a system built on lies and forced confessions.
So moving away from the physical, though, we'll come back to that. These light methods, the ones that didn't leave marks but broke people.
Right. Medieval torturers had their dramatic devices, but the Soviets realized simple things could be just as effective, maybe more so. Less cumbersome, no visible evidence.
So how do you do that? How do you break someone's spirit without, physically assaulting them in an obvious way?
It often started with something basic. Night interrogations.
Okay. Taking away sleep.
Exactly. Pull people out of bed, keep them awake, disrupt their whole routine. They lose their balance, their common sense. They become incredibly vulnerable.
Makes sense. Then there was persuasion.
Yeah, but a twisted kind. The interrogator might act almost friendly, lazy, saying things like, look, you're getting prison time anyway. Resist, you'll die here. Sign, you get camp, fresh air. Why not just sign now?
Playing on desperation.
Completely. And for party members, it was even more insidious. Like, you can't blame the whole party, can you? No. So take the blame yourself. A horrible appeal to loyalty.
And foul language, that actually worked.
Apparently, yes, powerfully so. The sources talk about people who were very well brought up, refined, delicate, being subjected to this constant barrage of profanity. It was an assault that just wore them down until they capitulated.
Yeah.
There's an account of a priest.
Yeah.
He initially said his female interrogator was polite. Then she started cursing him relentlessly, and he came back totally broken.
Just the verbal assault. And psychological contrast, like good cop, bad cop.
That, yes. And also sudden shifts. An interrogator being friendly, promising everything, then suddenly grabbing a paperweight, screaming threats. Fool, you rat! I'll put 9 grams of lead in your skull.
Terrifying whiplash.
Especially effective with women prisoners, the sources note. And yeah, the classic good cop, bad cop. Prisoners would cling to the gentle one, desperate to please them.
But maybe the worst. Playing on family.
Oh, absolutely devastating. Playing on affection for loved ones. Threatening to arrest your wife, your child. Explicit threats, like putting your daughter in a cell with syphilitics.
Oh my God.
Or using sound effects, a woman screaming next door. Showing you're your wife through a glass door. Give you a fake letter, supposedly from her, renouncing you.
And these weren't empty threats.
Often not. They knew people's deepest instinct is to protect their family, and they weaponized it ruthlessly.
So these light methods, they also kind of blurred into physical stuff, didn't they? Things that didn't leave marks but were definitely physical torment?
Yeah, absolutely. Like sound. Forcing prisoners to speak loudly constantly. Or having 2 interrogators just bellowing into your ears through cardboard megaphones, deafening you.
Constant noise, constant pressure. And the environment itself. The box.
Right. A tiny closet, basically. Yeah. You're just arrested, ripped from your life, in shock, and they stick you in this box for hours, maybe a day. Sometimes you can only stand. It's about that initial shock, breaking your spirit right from the start.
And forced sitting. That sounds almost mundane, but...
Insidious. Sitting on a stool for 6 days, in a corridor, no leaning, no sleeping, try not to fall off, or in a high lab chair, feet dangling, for 8-10 hours straight, until your legs are numb. Simple, cheap, effective torment.
And the divisional pit? What was that?
A pit dug in the ground, maybe 10 feet deep, 6.5 feet wide, under the open sky. That's your cell and your latrine for days. Minimal food and water lower down. And in Mongolia, they made prisoners dig their own pits, grave size, and sit in them.
A living grave. And sleeplessness. You mentioned night interrogations, but this was more systematic.
Oh, yeah. Described as the universal method. No equipment needed, no marks left, incredibly cheap. Prisoners forbidden to sleep even a minute between reveille and taps. And if you were under interrogation, no sleep. 5 days, 5 nights, minimum. Sometimes longer, with interrogators working in shifts.
Constant pressure, no rest.
One victim described the feeling. Chill from great loss of blood, irises dried out like someone's holding a red-hot iron in front of them, tongue swollen, throat spasming, just total system breakdown.
And despite the focus on markless torture, there were still beatings, brutal ones.
Absolutely. Rubber truncheons, wooden mallets, sandbags. Kicking the shin with the bones right there. Fist blows to the solar plexus, no external mark but immense pain. And that horrifying account of a colonel kicking male prisoners' genitals with his overshoes.
Enough to cause unconsciousness, it says.
Pain beyond imagining. And even mentions of a machine for squeezing fingernails. So yeah, the physical brutality was definitely there too.
So when you put all this together, the psychological, the environmental, the physical, it starts to become clearer why so many people broke.
Exactly. People were just utterly unprepared. Think about it. Our whole lives, education, upbringing, work, it prepares us for many things. But as the source says, neither our education nor our upbringing nor our experience prepares us in the slightest for the greatest trial of our lives. Being arrested for nothing and interrogated about nothing.
Completely outside anyone's frame of reference, and adding to that, the laws weren't even available.
Right. Imagine being charged under Article 58, Sections 10 and 11, these vague, sweeping charges about counter-revolution or dissent, and you ask, can I please see the law I'm accused under? And the answer is, you're not supposed to see it. It isn't written for you, but for us.
Unbelievable. No way to even understand the accusation. A lawyer was out of the question.
A virtual fairy tale, the source calls it.
And the isolation was key, too.
Perfected isolation. They make sure you didn't meet anyone who could offer help, sympathy, or just confirm you weren't crazy. Interrogators exaggerated their power, lied about loved ones being arrested, lied about concessions leading to shorter sentences. It was all about control.
But ironically, during the big purges, the prisons were actually overflowing.
Yeah, 1937, 1945.
Mhm.
And the overcrowding itself became torture. First-class torture. 18 people in a cell for one. 140 in a cell meant for 25. Imagine that density. 3 people per square yard.
No air, no space.
No ventilation, windows sealed, naked bodies pressed together, skin diseases like eczema running rampant. Just live in hell.
And this context helps explain some really tragic behavior, like those orthodox communists.
Yeah, it's a grim detail. Some, believing they had to support Soviet interrogation, actually told others, confess and name everyone you can think of. They thought, maybe naively, that naming so many people, even absurd names, would expose the whole thing as a farce.
But that played right into the NKVD's hands.
Exactly what they needed. An unlimited fan of names, the source calls it. That was their measure of success. Someone even named Cardinal Richelieu as an accomplice, just trying to show the absurdity, but it didn't work.
And this wasn't just low-level guys. The very top leadership was involved in the brutality.
Directly. Abakumov, the Minister of State Security himself, apparently had no problem personally beating prisoners with a rubber truncheon. His deputy, Ryumin, would literally roll out a bloody runner on a fancy carpet to beat prisoners, assisted by a colonel. It was baked into the system, top to bottom.
So, given all of that, I mean, how could anyone possibly stand their ground? How could anyone resist?
It's a huge question. And the source offers a really stark, provocative answer. You had to renounce everything.
Renounce everything. What does that mean?
It means reaching a point of saying, internally, my life is over. I'm never getting out. My body, it's useless alien. Only my spirit, my conscience matters now.
Wow, that's a profound internal shift, almost detaching from your own physical existence.
And the source suggests that when faced with a prisoner like that, the interrogation will tremble because the usual levers, fear, pain, hope they don't work anymore.
Is there an example of this?
Yeah, the story of BF arrested twice, interrogated by Dzerzhinsky himself, the founder of the Cheka. But BF refused to be humiliated, refused to beg, just firmly stated his religious and moral principles. They couldn't break him, couldn't use him. They released him.
His inner strength was his shield.
Seems like it.
Yeah.
And there's another account, an old woman in Buturki prison in 1937, interrogated every night for 2 years about a religious figure she'd sheltered.
2 years.
And she finally told him, there's nothing you can do to me, even if you cut me into pieces. You're all afraid of your bosses, of each other, even of killing me. But I'm not afraid of anything. I'd be glad to be judged by God right now.
That level of fearlessness is just incredible. It makes the Tsarist interrogation seem almost tame by comparison.
Well, the stakes were different, generally lower. Radishev, considered a hero from that era, he renounced his beliefs after just 2 weeks, begged for mercy. The Decembrists, too, many broken names. Again, it's not to condemn them,
No, of course not.
but it highlights just how different, how utterly ruthless and total the Soviet system was designed to be. It pushed people far beyond previous limits.
And the sources give us a very personal window into this too, right? The author's own experience.
Yes, a deeply personal account. He admits he was arrested for what he calls childish stupidity, basically writing frank letters with derogatory comments about the wisest of the wise, meaning Stalin.
A dangerous thing to do.
Extremely. And his naivety was apparently met with laughter by the other, more experienced prisoners. They knew how the system worked.
So his interrogator, was he brutal?
No, apparently not crude. Didn't need to be. He just used the letters the author had written and received, cast this net around everyone he'd corresponded with, used the letters themselves as proof of guilt.
So the author felt trapped by his own words.
Exactly. He describes trying to weave something credible, basically walking this tightrope, trying to seem innocent, but terrified the interrogator would find his war diary.
His war diary. Why was that dangerous?
Because it was filled with honest, treasonable observations from the front line, things that would have gotten him, and probably his comrades, into even deeper trouble.
Right. And then he discovers this legal right almost by accident.
Yeah, during the 206 procedure, where you're supposed to review your case file, printed right there on the cover, the right to make written complaints about improper conduct. And the interrogator was legally obliged to staple it into the record.
But nobody knew about it.
He says not one of the thousands of prisoners he met later knew this right existed. It was there on paper, but hidden in practice.
So even knowing the interrogation was wrong, he still had to sign.
He felt he had no choice. And they tacked on a fabricated group charge, Section 11, telling him, oh, don't worry, it won't add to your term.
But it did.
Of course it did. It led directly to hard labor and later eternal exile. Just another example of how the system twisted the law completely.
And that image of his war diary.
Ah, yeah, really poignant. He remembers seeing the Lubyanka furnace chimney from his exercise yard and picturing his diary full of thoughts that could have condemned his friends, being thrown into that hellish maw and flying out as black butterflies of soot.
Black butterflies of soot. It's like lost history, lost voices.
He calls it a whole lost culture being consumed, incinerated.
And his fear wasn't just for himself, but for how his generation would be remembered.
That seemed to be the deepest hurt. The fear that future generations will look back and think they were more stupid, less gifted, less vocal than in actual fact they were, because their real voices, their real experiences were being systematically erased.
Such a profound loss.
Yeah. This whole journey through the material really shows how a system can strip away everything, not just freedom, but dignity, identity, even the basic right to know the law or the chance to prove your innocence. The burden was flipped entirely onto the accused. Prove you didn't have hostile intent. How do you even do that?
An impossible task, really, in that context. It absolutely makes you think about the value of transparency, due process, just being able to speak freely. So, reflecting on this deep dive, what really stands out to you? Maybe it's that chilling idea that human ingenuity, when it's twisted, can create tortures much more insidious than anything medieval.
That's certainly part of it. The psychological sophistication is terrifying.
Or maybe it's the flip side, that incredible, enduring power of the human spirit to resist, even when absolutely everything seems lost.